Hello, my name is Leslie, and I'm with the Federation for Children with Special Needs, and I'm going to bring you another session of our SEPAC Summer School. And this one is titled Finding Hidden Treasure. So hopefully you can find some hidden treasure within your SEPAC by looking at the strengths of your members. We've been focusing this whole summer on, the structure of family engagement and how it can support the work and the activities of SEPACs. And the third goal in our first element, which is all about building positive relationships, is really starting to have the SEPAC collaborate with the families in your community. And you're trying to create or promote connections between those families. It's looking for how your families are connected, and then using those connections to build your SEPAC membership and increase visibility. For that's really one of the ways for you to grow and make your SEPAC more viable within your community, that people know about it, see it as an important element in advising the school district on matters that pertain to special education. So let's look at some of the strengths of your members and the connections that they have. And I hope at the end of this session, you'll be not only able to use those connections, but start to think about how do you reach out to new families, because we all know how difficult it is to be a new family in a new system and find the support that you need. Are there informal ways that your SEPAC can connect to families? And that just might be a little bit less threatening or even more fun for families to start to get involved. Understanding the role of the support group and how you can structure that within your community. And we've been talking all summer about how do we connect youth to our SEPACs, make them part of the advisory voice, but also bring them in and see if you can help build a youth community so that they can see each other as supports and make those connections. And ultimately, you're going to build leadership capacity when you bring in more people and involve them in the activities and the work of the SEPAC. So we'll get started. So start with the premise that nobody knows about you. And so that's, a place of, yes, we need to get out the basic information. We need to talk about our role. We need to talk about who we are and what we do and our purpose statement, so that people really have a clear understanding of what the SEPAC is and what it's not, so they don't see you in a role that you're not ready to do in the community. And that's not individually advocate for a certain family. For example, it's more about systemic change and what the district, how you would respond to the district around issues that you're hearing about. And I also think you need to really support the learning opportunities that SEPAC might offer in an intentional way, so that you structure them to meet families where they're at and to provide the correct types of resources. And it might be in different methods, video resources or resources in a different language, to really meet the needs of your community. And as you're doing all of this, I want you to focus on really looking at, are there existing partnerships within some of your families? Are they members of other communities? And how can you connect and use those relationships and those partnerships and those connections that those families have to increase not only your awareness, but bring more families in that may not know about the SEPAC. And it's all about building all of those different connections. So always seeing outside of the box, how can we get connected to that community? And it just might be through one of your members. So your SEPAC also has a structure that they follow, and a lot of SEPACs adopt bylaws. And as part of those bylaws, you define roles within the bylaws, so that we have a SEPAC board, and here are the roles that have to happen. Some of them are subcommittees and different types of committees that operate within the SEPAC with specific duties and responsibilities and direction. And it's very prescribed. And I'm thinking, well, maybe we should just kind of go outside and do it a different way. And so instead of asking someone, will they fit a certain role within your organization, and do they want to be the secretary, or do they want to be a school liaison, to ask them what they would like to do, what they're interested in, and follow the course from their passion and their interest. And then that might ultimately come into a more formal role within your SEPAC, but you're building on their strengths and interests and getting them engaged first, because it's really all about engaging people. Where are they at? What are they interested in? Get them involved, get them more knowledgeable, and then ultimately it might lead to one of these more formal positions. But I think a lot of SEPACs struggle with filling specific titles or roles within the SEPAC because they're not really reaching out, and they're not listening to people who want to get involved and finding out what they would like to do, and how do you support that, and where can that lead? Because anybody who runs an event is probably going to have to do a little bit of publicity, maybe fundraising, organization, coordinating with other groups. It's all there. So why don't we do it maybe from a position of interest? So that should be your goal, is to change the way you may fill some of the jobs in your SEPAC. And do you remember when you were new to special education, how it was really all about feeling very alone and not understanding the process and not understanding the systems? So that's another area where you can start to make the connections, reaching out to the early intervention centers and the programs in your area, to the parents that are in the preschools, and even in the local child care settings. How do you make those connections to them? Let them know that you're there not only for parental support, but you have resources and connections, and maybe even develop a welcome packet so that those families, as they come in, have an immediate sense of a belonging, and so that they can now start sharing it with other families that they know. So it's all about making those connections. The peer support is key. As a parent, there's a lot of questions in the beginning, and they may not even understand their child's disability and how it affects them fully in the early stages. So support groups could be a key part of the SEPAC, and those can operate outside of the public open meeting law and be a place of support for families. We suggest that you hold these meetings in a publicly accessible place, like your local library or another public site, so that you can get to know people in your community. And parents are really talking and sharing, and you as a SEPAC board member might be listening and taking notes and can bring back any concerns and issues to the formal SEPAC. But sometimes it's hard to even start those groups. And at the Federation, we have a project called Family Ties, where you can volunteer and learn and train to be a support parent. And you might be able to build some of those skills, or somebody within your SEPAC could attend and be that professional support parent for the rest of your organization, and help to start and run a support group in your community. And it might need another partner, another organization that can help you as you get going. And those are those connections that you might learn about through members of a group that's already established and already meeting, and can provide the basis for channeling information back and forth. So informal ways are also a nice way for the SEPAC to, find new members and to understand, really what a member's background is all about. So sometimes by sitting down at a coffee or an informal gathering, you can have a personal one-on-one conversation and find out people's background, their interests, maybe their skills, and encourage them to get more involved on different levels within the SEPAC. Some groups have started to organize book clubs so that you can read a book or read an article and really sit down with a group of people and digest it and figure it out and see how that the understanding, because some of special education is very technical and very difficult to understand. Some CPACs actually go to different SEPAC's lectures, and they just might be getting started, and a neighboring SEPAC has a workshop. When we were meeting in person, they would, go on a road trip, but you can even do a virtual road trip and organize that your certain group is going to attend another meeting and then come back and have a discussion group about what you have learned. Because that's really the way we learn, is we talk about what we've learned, what we've seen, what we've been exposed to, and share that and digest it. And then you can really get a sense of people understanding those types of things. And I hope as we move to more in-person types of events, that you'll have some kind of a social event, and you might be able to do that outside in good weather, so that you can meet and have informal connections with people, so that you're now finding out a little bit about their skill set, their interests, and so those are a value to your organization. And it might be something that a member is actually interested in and wants to create some type of a small event or an opportunity for a group to get together. It might have a specific focus or not. It might be on age or disability type or recreational opportunity. So just follow your members' leads and let them organize and host different types of events, and you support it as a SEPAC. So I think what we've been talking about all summer is, how do we reach out to youth and provide support for them and opportunities for them to learn and to grow. So I think the SEPAC, as maybe they bring on at least 1 or 2 youth advisors onto either the SEPAC board or a non-voting member of your organization, that you think of different ways that you can provide support to maybe different age groups, different disability type groups, maybe by just even specific interests. I also think siblings should be involved in some type of support, because a lot of siblings support their family member in many ways, and could use some connections to other siblings. And it could be by school or geographic area of your town, is how can you bring youth together so that they feel included and supported, and they're sharing resources. So those could provide different ways for the SEPAC to learn information to help them in their advisory role. So, and the ultimate thing is that the more people that are involved and the more SEPACs get to know their members and the strengths of their members and their interests of their members, that they'll start to look at them as maybe potential leaders. And there's lots of ways for the SEPAC to build leadership capacity, because I don't want somebody to feel like they have to be the chair or the co-chair for years and years and years. And I also think turnover is a good idea. So maybe adopt a co-chair model within your bylaws or within your structure. Those people are sitting on the executive board to start to delegate some of the tasks, so people can step up to take on more responsibility slowly, a little bit at a time, and maybe with someone else to assist them. Maybe you create working groups or teams or subcommittees so that they start to get those skill sets that they need to take on larger roles. Add term limits to your bylaws so that no one's seen as untouchable and, oh, they're doing such a great job, we'll let them stay for another 3 or 4 years. Because I think change is good, and getting new ideas to your SEPAC is also good. And those people who were in leadership can now step back a little bit and provide more of a supporting role, or maybe a mentoring role. There's lots of roles for people to play within your organization. So just create the opportunity for new leaders always to emerge, and just allow that to happen, and even formally plan for it, so that there is succession and there is new energy within your SEPAC, and some movement to trying different things. So just remember, when you're thinking about the way you support members and you bring more members to your SEPAC, that people are attracted to a positive, successful group. Promote your success, talk about it so that people have a sense of, yes, you're getting things accomplished, you're doing things. Create that culture of open decision-making so that everyone's ideas are valued and brought to the table and kind of sifted through and try to, brought forward so that you can start to think of different ways of doing things. You've got to train some of these volunteers. You've got to mentor them. Yes, they're coming with a certain skill set. Yes, you want to make those connections. But if they know that they're not going to be thrown into something brand new, that they're going to have some training, a mentor, and a plan going forward so that they can be successful, because that's what it's all about, like letting people be successful. And I also think you need to thank people, acknowledge them both in public and in private. How nice it is to get that handwritten thank you note, even if it's just brief, just to recognize the work that people are doing. And constantly listen to members' ideas, even if they're not present right now, to be able to step in and lead, but just kind of bring ideas to the table all the time. Make note of it, keep an idea chart somewhere, and make sure that at some point somebody else might have a similar interest in that idea and move it forward at any given time. So don't lose the good ideas. Keep that chart, keep that out there so that they're recognized and it's a possible place to go for new direction. So here's a couple of articles, just a guide to supporting people, coaching and mentoring them. The Serving on Groups curriculum, I think I've talked about that before. It's a wonderful online curriculum, very nice and broken down into chapters. It's in English and Spanish, and it just really helps people what it's like and get an understanding of what it's like to serve on a group and the different group roles, and each group has a different process, and getting that basic understanding so they're more comfortable in committing to a role within a group. And then I really think you need to, if you're a SEPAC leader, that you need to think about succession in your role and how to do that, and set yourself up so that there is a new member interest in leading in your organization, because at some point you'll be ready to step down and you need people ready to step up for your organization. So thank you very much. That was the end of session 7, and I hope you'll stay tuned for the next session of SEPAC Summer School.